Caleb, thanks for being here. Who will be the biggest surprise impact player on the team this year?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of guys to choose from. God, I would love to be able to answer that question right now. The easy way. I mean, well, impact is what I'm thinking of. I mean, the easy answer to that would be Trey Palmer.
That's what I was going to say. But is that going to be a surprise to anybody?
Surprise? No, that would not be a surprise. So, oh boy, I've got. You know what? I'm going to go somewhere like an unsung type guy that non-skill position guy that might just make a huge impact. And I'm just going to throw that out there and say second-year player, offensive guard Henry Lutovsky. How about that?
Look at that.
Because that would be a surprise and an impact. A lot of other guys are already hyped up, so they wouldn't be a surprise. But I'm thinking I like Henry Lutovsky's chances to make a big impact and become a starter on that offensive line sooner than later. So
Greg, you mentioned
dropping my little bit of that's my nice. Little bit of knowledge here.
deep roster knowledge. Greg, we talked about this off air last week. You mentioned Bo Pelini a couple minutes ago. What was the podcast that he was on here about a week ago where he was commenting on the Big 12 championship game against Texas with the Colt McCoy throw out of bounds to set up the game-winning field goal that most likely wasn't made in time. We'll put it that way.
Right. Yeah. No, that's Will Compton's podcast, the former Nebraska linebacker and Washington Commanders, are they now? But the Washington football team, when they were still named something else, he had a pretty good career there. And he's thriving with his podcast show. He's got a huge following, obviously. Any former Husker player is going to have a huge following. But yeah, I think this is the only podcast that Bo Pelini will go on. So, he's very loyal to his former players and stuff. And he's pretty candid when he's on that show. He's been on it, 2 or 3 times now.
So Bo Pelini called the officiating a screw job. That's in quotes. Screw job. Suggested that the Big 12 rigged the finish so Texas could make it to the national championship game. So understand that anytime there's a team that's gunning for a national championship appearance in a conference title game and the other team does not have that opportunity, not that conferences are going around rigging games to get a team in the national championship game, but who are you rooting for in the conference office? Of course, you're rooting for the team that can go play in the BCS championship game. So he said they effing lied. That was a screw job. They wanted Texas to go to the national championship game. Let's face it. They wanted to make sure that a team from the Big 12 went. We won the game. The game was over.
You know what? I can't argue against his opinion either. Now, did the Big 12 actually make a call down there? Who knows? The next question is, will they do that to Texas and Oklahoma right now? Because they're still stuck in the Big 12 for a couple more seasons. So do they start doing pull the same stuff
against them?
Right.
Yeah.
So, because there's a little bit of egos going on there when a team is on their way out of the conference. So I don't think Bo Pelini is wrong really to say that. And, he's nothing but a blunt person. I mean, he tells you like it is. Okay. And that's what he believes. And I think most Husker fans are right there 100% backing him on that. Because he's right. That game was over. There's no way that there should have been a second put back on that clock and let Texas kick a field goal to win the game. That's ridiculous. So, yeah, let's see. I mean, the Big 12, obviously we've seen them several times. They get butt hurt, when somebody decides to up and leave for greener pastures. So, yeah, it wouldn't shock me at all if they started pulling the same stuff with both Texas and Oklahoma. I mean, how would you like to be there as Oklahoma's representative at those conference meetings, and you want to bring something up, and are they actually going to listen to you, or are they all going to sit there and look at your phones while you talk? And so yeah, it's it's going to be interesting to see.
Well, I made the comment this week that, let's see, that must have been when we jumped on live when the announcement was made that 2023 is going to be the entry into the Big 12 from BYU, Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston. That I would, if you're the commissioner of the Big 12 and you're working for the Big 12, what is your role? What is the description of your job? To do whatever you need to do for the best interests of the Big 12. Well, Oklahoma and Texas are no longer members of the Big 12, at least long-term members. So I would screw them in any reasonable way I could in terms of scheduling.
Exactly. I'm sure they will. You'll see it, I'm sure. And I mean, because they're going to restrict those guys any way they can. They're leaving. Yeah, I get it. I mean, we've seen the Big 12 operate like this already, and it doesn't. To them, you're not a member of the conference anymore, and your opinion doesn't mean anything anymore. We're only keeping you around here to punish you and cost you money, basically, is all they're trying to do. Because they know they can't compete with the SEC or the Big Ten when it comes to payouts for each of your members. So, yeah, TV contracts rule the whole world right now of college football, and unfortunately, the Big 12 and the Pac-12 are kind of irrelevant in that conversation. They have their deals, but not the mega deals like the SEC and the Big Ten have. And even the ACC, is all hooked up with ESPN. So, they're doing pretty well too.
One more note on the last play of that Big 12 championship game, and this is worth noting, is that officially the rule is that the clock should not stop until the football hits something out of bounds. Because if you think about it, obviously if somebody throws the ball out of bounds, everybody knows it's impossible to catch, but you have to make a rule that basically it's catchable until it doesn't get caught, which means it's got to hit something, the ground, a chair or something. Yeah. And that thing was heaved well over everybody's head. And it took a while for that thing to hit something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously there's somebody had a itchy trigger finger on that clock button. That clock operator, somebody was in his ear or something. I don't know. No, I mean, yeah, Bo's right. That the whole thing was handled just completely wrong, and it looked so blatantly, illegal. Trying to punish Nebraska. That, yeah. I mean, what else do you say? Yeah, Nebraska did get screwed, in my opinion.